Welcome back to Jersey Matters.
Hello again, here's my best to you.
This week, we lost a broadcast legend, Herbert Oscar Anderson.
Let me sing my song to you.
Every morning, Herb would wake up New York and New Jersey with his signature song.
Hello again, let's forget the past.
Long before the shock jocks and morning zoos, there was Herb Oscar Anderson, the last gentleman of rock and roll radio.
Here's my hand, I'll say once more.
Herb died this past Sunday.
Hello again.
It's a hippity-doo day on 77 WABC.
21 minutes now to 9 o'clock, 61 degrees this Thursday morning, the Butterfly.
From 1960 to 1968, Herb Oscar Anderson was the morning man on 77 WABC.
When he got to WABC, it was struggling to stay alive.
David Hinckley was the entertainment reporter for the New York Daily News.
By the time he left in 1968, it was the most popular radio station in the world, and probably had a greater share of a municipal audience than certainly than any radio station at the time, and maybe of almost any radio station since then. It's just a phenomenon.
Herb Oscar Anderson's rise to fame is a uniquely American story. His parents immigrated to Minneapolis from Sweden just before World War II broke out in Europe.
Shortly after arriving, the father died. Now, these were people who didn't speak English, and so the mom had no choice. The mom took on a job as a maid, and Herb went into an orphanage, the Oddfellows Orphanage in Wisconsin.
Jim Davis was a good friend of Herb Oscar Anderson's. I spoke with him via Skype from his home in Florida about Herb's first radio job at KSTP in Minneapolis.
Herb became a salesman, and he would sing songs, and he would sell these used jeans, and also he sang songs about, he was selling also Bibles that would glow in the dark. It was quite a story. So very humble beginnings.
Here he is, Herb Oscar Anderson.
I'd like to sing a happy song that she enjoys the way I sing it. So here we go, Ma, with the rock and roll polka.
Herb's charm and voice quickly made him a big star among Midwest farmers. And ABC radio networks wanted to try him on a bigger stage.
Rockin' to the rock and roll polka.
So Herb Oscar Anderson went from playing polka in the Midwest to usher in a brand new sound. Rock and roll on the biggest stage of all, New York City.
Here are the Beatles!
Herb arrived in New York shortly before the Beatles did, and they made a perfect team.
I think he really embraced the Beatles, and he loved that the Beatles were part of rock and roll, because that tied things together for him in a way. It put what he considered the great music together with current music.
By the second summer that the Beatles came to America, which would have been 1965, Herb Oscar Anderson had a weekly listenership of over 6 million listeners a week. Just an amazing number. By comparison, today, a #1 station in New York City might have maybe 2 million listeners a week. So you can see he really knocked it out of the park.
I'm going to ask Mr. Herb Oscar Anderson to join me for this next song.
Herb Oscar Anderson left WABC in 1968 and moved to Florida, but he never really retired.
I like it. How about you?
He was a regular on cruise ships and hosted a weekly radio show on the ocean 97.1 Vero Beach, where Jim Davis is the general manager.
About a year ago, Herb and I went to the Indian River Mall, and he sang in front of a group of people that came out. They loved him, of course, many of them ex-New Yorkers who remember him from his WABC days. And at the end of the concert, Herb signed autographs for over an hour, which is just absolutely amazing when you think of it. Here's a guy that hasn't been on the air in New York City in over half a century, and yet he's signing autographs for an hour. Just an amazing legacy.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It's New York in the Morning, your information center. Herb Oscar Anderson. We've got Nat King Cole, the best opener. Oh, Ramblin' Rose. None them hear it.
A few years back, The Breeze 107.1 in Long Branch had a Radio Greats weekend, and Herb Oscar Anderson and friends were back on the air in New Jersey sharing memories.
Now, Herb did the countdown, the top 10 songs, never mentioned the artist or the title of every song. Here's number 9. All right, let's go.
Well, as many times as they were played, if they didn't know it by then.
It was a kinder, simpler time when radio, rock and roll, and Herb Oscar Anderson were kings. It is a time we sorely miss.
Herb Oscar Anderson, goodbye. God bless you. And I thank you so very much.
Herb Oscar Anderson dead at the age of 88. And just as he said hello in song so many times, he now says goodbye.
At the end of a rainbow, you'll find your pot of gold. At the end of a story, you'll find it's all been told. Just tell me that you love me, and you are only mine, and our love will go on till the end of time.